Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Newsbrowse News broadcast. According to U.S. intelligence reports cited by CNN, Iran's military capabilities have rapidly recovered during the recent ceasefire period, significantly exceeding original expectations. This recovery is attributed to sustained support from China and Russia. Analysts believe Iran could resume full drone attack capabilities within 6 months, posing a serious threat to U.S. allies in the Persian Gulf. Intelligence suggests China has continued to provide necessary components for missile production, despite President Xi Jinping's assurances to President Trump that China would not supply weapons to Iran. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also reportedly stated that China is providing parts for Iran's missile manufacturing, a claim China's foreign ministry spokesperson has denied as baseless. President Trump had previously stated that Xi Jinping promised not to provide weapons to Iran. RNZ reports that Indonesia has announced that 8 civilians were killed by West Papua rebels in the remote US-Cuba Regency of Papua's Highlands Province. The West Papua National Liberation Army, TPNPB, has claimed responsibility for the killings, asserting that the victims were actually Indonesian military intelligence officers who were operating undercover as gold miners. However, Indonesia's military disputes the rebels' account, maintaining that the deceased were genuine civilians working in the region. Authorities are actively pursuing the perpetrators, and while the situation in US-Cuba is described as dangerous, it is reportedly under control. The TPNPB has called on the Indonesian government to cease deploying military personnel in civilian disguises, such as gold miners or taxi drivers, amidst the ongoing conflict between pro-independence West Papuan fighters and Indonesian security forces. According to NHK, the U.S. Secretary of State, Rubio, has expressed skepticism about the likelihood of resolving issues with Cuba through diplomatic means. While the Trump administration hopes for a peaceful, negotiated agreement, Rubio stated on May 21st that the possibility is not high, given the current individuals involved in negotiations. This stance comes as the Trump administration intensifies pressure on Cuba, exemplified by the recent indictment of former chairman of Cuba's Council of State Raul Castro. The indictment, announced on May 20th, links Castro to the downing of 2 U.S. civilian planes 3 decades ago. Rubio emphasized that when U.S. national security is threatened, the president has both the right and obligation to address the issue. Germany has launched a new $3 billion electric vehicle purchase subsidy program, aiming to fund 800,000 new cars by 2029 to accelerate its green energy transition. The online application platform, opened on May 19th, Tuesday, saw an overwhelming response, with nearly 17,000 applications within 24 hours, reaching 19,448 by May 20th, as reported by the Epoch Times. Federal Environment Minister Carsten Schneider hailed the initiative as a step towards making EVs more accessible and reducing dependence on high oil prices. However, the program faces significant criticism. The maximum €6,000 subsidy is not universally available, being restricted to private purchases and tied to household income and number of children, making it largely inaccessible for many low-income families who struggle to afford even used cars. Critics argue that a significant portion of the funds, potentially benefiting foreign, especially Asian, car manufacturers, due to the prevalence of non-German-made affordable EVs in the market. Economists from the IFO Institute and prominent automotive expert Ferdinand Dudenhofer have lambasted the program as a misallocation of resources and unnecessary market intervention, suggesting that market forces were already driving EV demand through price drops and geopolitical events. The debate highlights the challenge of balancing environmental goals with social equity and domestic industrial competitiveness. According to the Epoch Times, several nations are providing financial aid to Africa to combat a deadly Ebola outbreak. The UK Foreign Office announced a new aid package of £20 million to help control the epidemic in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC. This funding will bolster the World Health Organization, TACAWI2-K agencies, and NGOs in monitoring, protecting frontline health workers, and enhancing infection control. South Africa has contributed $2.5 million to support Africa CDC and Uganda's response, including surveillance and rapid response. The United States has pledged $23 million for monitoring, risk communication, safe burials, border screening, and clinical management in affected regions. The TACAWI2 has also released millions from its emergency fund and urged global donations, while the EU provides coordination and material support. As of May 20, the DRC reported 600 suspected cases and 139 suspected deaths, with 51 confirmed. Neighboring Uganda has confirmed 2 cases. The TACAWI2 declared the Ebola outbreak a public health emergency of international concern on May 17 due to rapidly rising case numbers. Separately, global attention is focused on the spread of hantavirus, known for its high fatality rate and lack of specific treatment. An outbreak of the Andes-type hantavirus occurred on the Dutch cruise ship MV Hondius in April 2026, affecting passengers from multiple countries including the US, UK, South Africa, and Canada, resulting in 11 cases and 3 deaths. Simultaneously, Taiwan has reported unrelated Seoul-type hantavirus cases. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.